Show. This show talks about everything current in the law of personal injuries and relevant to you, the viewer. My name's Tony Carbone. I'm a personal injury lawyer with 30 years' experience. With me tonight, I've got John Karantzis, a partner in a law firm in workers' compensation. Good evening, John.
Hi, Tony. Hi, viewers.
And also Don Maffia, a partner in a law firm in transport accidents. Good evening, Don.
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, viewers.
Tonight, viewers, we've got a riveting episode. It's about one of our most eminent neurosurgeons, Dr Michael Wong, who's going to recount his story about being attacked at the Western Health and what we can and can't do to prevent these incidents from occurring in the future. So please stay tuned for Dr Wong in the second segment.
However, Tony, two things. Before we get to what's in the news, first show for 2015 and 8 years, Tony. Eight years
viewers,
of the PI
it's been
show.
a long time doing this show. I hope you're enjoying it. Obviously they are because they're still watching. But we love to entertain and also to educate the viewers, don't we, Don?
Yes, that's
exactly. To all the lawyers, the judges, everyone out there, you know, thank you for your ongoing support. Tony, what's in the news?
What's in the news? Well, the first story of note is this: these blackberries from China, Don.
China and Chile.
And Chile. Yeah.
So the frozen berries, which is a hepatitis A epidemic, probably, John. I mean, there's about I think 13, 14 people have been now diagnosed with hepatitis A, resulting from contaminated frozen berries.
Well, John, just on this, there's been something like a couple of million people consume these berries, apparently.
Yes.
And the incubation period's 7 weeks.
Yes.
Right? Do you think they've got a claim, or is there permanent injury is the issue, isn't it?
Tony, permanent injury is the issue, but at the same time, if you're suffering these symptoms and they're ongoing, and maybe other parts of the body, you know, get poisoned, Tony, and if that's permanent, well, you have a claim.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one because usually when you get hepatitis A, Don, eventually you get out of your system and they say it doesn't have any long-lasting effects.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Well, psychologically, Tony, I mean, I'll never look at a blueberry muffin again.
Oh, well, hold it. That's an interesting point, John. I mean, you could get a 10% whole person impairment from a psychological point of view.
Exactly.
True?
Well,
yes.
It breaches the Australian consumer laws, which is food which is not fit for human consumption. I don't think it's fit for any consumption.
But you've still got to set aside a wrongs act.
Yeah.
But look,
wrongs act
I'm glad you raised the issue about psychological because that could be the angle.
Yeah.
OK, we'll keep you posted on this story. John, teachers win bulk of work-covered payouts. What's this all about?
Oh, Tony, we've talked about this repeatedly, haven't we?
Yes.
Teachers, they've got a tough job. There's a lot of claims. There's thousands and thousands of claims made per year by teachers. And we're talking big money made for bullying, for work injuries suffered at the school by either students, violent students. Tony, we've got $7.4 million has been paid for work injuries at a school.
And Don, just on that point, the number John's just raised, of that, 1.3 was Mr Dulles.
Yep.
And there was another $1 million judgment that's on appeal at the moment in a stress-related case, John.
Yes.
So it's just tragic that our teachers have probably not been properly looked after, I guess.
Well, 425 teachers got $4.8 million between them, so it's a lot of injuries.
It is a lot of injuries.
And look, it just goes back to a safe workplace, doesn't it, John? I mean, teachers, they're vulnerable to assaults, bullying and all those things. So, you know, Department of Education or school boards have a duty of care.
And the duty of care extends also to teachers complaining to the employer about the conditions at the workplace. Because as we all know, Tony, no complaints, well, what do you expect the employer to do?
Exactly.
If they don't know about what the problem is, they can't do anything about it. You need to complain.
This has got to be the most bizarre story I've seen in years.
Yes.
2 young babies were switched at birth by some
midwife.
Midwife in France. We're talking about France.
So in France, 2 babies were born, put in the incubator for the jaundice, and they got mixed up. And 20 years later, obviously families brought a claim for compensation.
Well, they've been paid out, haven't they?
Yes, it's 400,000 euros, Tony.
Oh, all up the claims of the various family members came to $3 million.
Well, it goes down to 400,000 euros to each child, 700,000 euros, 300,000 euros to each parent, and 60,000 to each of the 3 siblings.
But what about this, guys? This is the part that I find extraordinary. After they met up and did the, you know, making up and kissing and hugging and whatever, they've gone back to lead their own separate lives.
Tony.
And they didn't want the babies again. They've kept...
They couldn't handle it.
Separate.
Yeah.
They met each other at 10. They found out earlier on, and when they were 10 years of age, the girls, they met the biological parents, and then after that,
they went
years
to
later,
separate
they
ways
decided.
again.
But how do you value that claim? I mean, it's very hard. What's
Stress, anxiety, and depression.
They didn't give the kids back. Look, I think it's a hard value to put.
And you know the thing about it, they don't even look like the parents. I mean, that was one of the triggering.
And the mothers were complaining actually at the birth that there was something wrong.
Yeah.
But
If I'm not mistaken,
they were ignored by the hospital.
One of the fathers left because he thought that the mother wasn't actually.
It was the posties baby. Yes.
Yes.
It's a sad case.
Yes.
Don, this is up your alley.
Yes.
This is insane.
Yes.
Some poor mother, car accident.
Yep.
Couple of kids are lost.
Yep.
The mother of one of the kids gets paid out.
Correct.
For anxiety, etc.
Yes.
The mother of the other kid, same facts,
nervous
similar
shock,
circumstances, got nothing.
Doesn't get nothing.
That's outrageous.
From the transport accident.
For the viewers, on the 16th of October 2013, the Liberal government changed the laws relating to mental injury and nervous shock, effectively made it a very strict test.
Yep.
So this is an example of how it discriminates against claimants. You've got two people in the same situation, one gets compensation, the other one doesn't because of the changes in the law.
You can't justify that, surely.
No,
That's insane.
well, look, Daniel Andrews' government the Labor government have pledged to change the laws. They haven't changed it yet, so it just moves away the discriminatory nature of this legislation. And it just goes to show it's so strict. When they introduced it, the whole idea was to restrict compensation.
Well,
that's what it's done.
This decision's under review, so we'll come back to it.
And this is exactly what we've been warning people about for the last year, isn't it, Tony?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sadly, the public don't know what the ins and outs are until they're actually in this position.
But the Dennis Napthine Liberal government literally tried to abolish TAC claims in stress claims.
Exactly.
Yep.
On that note, we've got to go to a sponsors break. Don, thanks for coming on board. Right. After a break, viewers, please stay tuned. We've got Dr Michael Wong. Viewers, welcome back to the show. As I said before the break, we're very fortunate to have Dr Michael Wong. He's the Neurosurgeon and Spinal Surgeon at the Royal Melbourne Hospital, head of neurosurgery at the Western Hospital, and he's doing so much work. So it's a pleasure to have you here tonight, Doctor. John, just let the viewers know, Dr Michael Wong was the unfortunate doctor that was attacked by an irate patient about a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Give us some of the facts that won't conflict with what's going on with the court system at the moment.
Tony, Michael was attacked by a person that came to Australia in 2010. He was an asylum seeker. In February 2014, this event happened and it's changed your life, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Doc, at the time this incident occurred, where were you? You were actually in your rooms?
No, just walking into work.
Walking into work.
Just walking in the
Doctor, this incident, what we're trying to highlight to the public is that the hospital system, when it comes to looking after its workers, there's a lot of holes in there, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing is, security is not that tight?
I think you compare the hospital system by comparison to any other major public place or buildings, I think the hospital system has much less security than many other places.
John, there's been a lot of debate about what we can and can't do for hospital workers, that is doctors, nurses and the like. They don't want to have armed security guards there because they say that sends the wrong message and might create more violence. Just curiously, what do you think the starting point is? There's been
Tony, I think this case highlights the need for extra security at all hospitals. And we've talked about this before, haven't we, Tony?
Yeah, we have.
Nurses and doctors are under intense pressure. Here, in this case, Michael suffered up to 30 stab wounds. He's lucky to be alive, aren't you, Michael?
Yes.
It's extraordinary, really.
And you underwent surgery that day, didn't you, straight away?
That's right.
Life-saving surgery. And you're still suffering from that every day, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It's it's security would have helped.
Absolutely.
And maybe even a separate entrance for employees.
Absolutely.
And I don't think it's a big ask, is it?
I think there are many ways that we can increase hospital security, and but I think currently what we have is a rather easily accessible public area.
Yes.
Where there could be potentially a lot of areas where you know, any people who has some crazy wills to do high violence can perform that.
And Tony, a separate entrance, I think that's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think also the other problem you've got in the hospital system, Doc, leaving aside the fellow that attacked you, there's a lot of drugs, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And if someone's in one of those states where they've had ice or cocaine or heroin, they're not going to be rational.
Absolutely.
So I'm not really sure. They come in, John, they go up to the reception, they're in a heightened state of whatever. How do you deal with these people? I mean, the lady she's behind the glass panel.
Well, a doctor and nurse can't deal with them. No. That's where you need security. And we're not talking about, I don't think we need armed officers, but at the same time, we need appropriate security people at every hospital to protect doctors and nurses.
So if you're seeing someone for the first time, John, are you advocating that you're in a room, you got a security officer of some description there with the doctor and nurse?
No, it can be just in the hallway.
Yep.
It can be just in the hallway. Michael, what do you think?
I think you raised some good issues there as to how security can be improved. Like, for instance, more armed security guard that would patrol the area, a separate entrance for staff, and for instance, for most of the hospital ward where public just can't access without having someone to actually allow them in. But currently, that's not the case for any major public hospital in the country.
Well, this happened at the Western Hospital. You're still working there?
I don't work there anymore, no.
No, you don't?
I don't.
Okay.
So where do you mainly work now, Doctor?
Publicly, I work at the Royal Melbourne Hospital.
Okay.
And privately, I work in a few other hospitals as well. Yeah.
So you've given up the role of head of neurosurgery at the Western Hospital?
At the Western Hospital, yeah.
That was a pretty big role there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit difficult to
go back.
And there are a few other issues, and security is one, of course.
I mean, psychologically, it would be tough for you to go back to the place where you nearly passed.
I think it would be a little difficult.
Oh, yes.
There's this breakup of code grey and code black in the hospitals. What's that all mean?
It's a clear example of how complicated the system is for doctors and nurses to make complaints about violent attacks.
Okay.
And there's reports that the way doctors and nurses have to report these incidences, it takes up to 45 minutes to fill out the paperwork, Tony. It's
at the time when the incident's occurring?
Yes, it's ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's just not tenable, Tony.
Viewers, just for your information, this breakdown of codes. Code black is a response to aggressive behaviour. That is, the person in question's probably got a weapon, what is a serious threat to personal safety. And a code grey is a response to potentially aggressive behaviour. So it just highlights what John's saying about this bizarre breakdown of what the different codes are.
And code grey, Tony, we're talking about 14,000 instances a year.
That's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Yeah. So there's 14,000 instances a year, Doctor, where a doctor or nurse or hospital staff member have been subjected to some form of aggression. It's a pretty high number, isn't it, Doc?
I think so.
Viewers, we've got to go to a sponsors break. Stay tuned. After the break, we'll be back with Dr Wong and John Karantzis. Welcome back to the show. We're continuing this discussion with Dr Michael Wong and John Karantzis. Doctor, before we get back to this issue of violence, Tell us a bit about yourself. What treatment are you getting at the moment?
At the moment, I'm going through a lot of hand therapy still, and beyond that, really just a lot of exercise to keep myself fit. And there were obviously quite a lot of wounds around my body, and just to prevent things from potentially getting worse or giving me some chronic pain.
John, if you didn't know better, he looks like a very fit young man.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's just extraordinary how he's got as far as he has.
Well, your recovery, doctor, is extraordinary. Most people would
probably be scarred for life.
Would not only be scarred for life, but never work again. You've picked yourself up and got back to work. That's extraordinary.
I think it's important. I deal with, like yourself, deal with a lot of work cover patients. I think it's important that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
That you can recover, you can go back to work, and you don't just sit at home and rely on some form of government payout. I think that's the best form of recovery.
Doc and John, up until now we've been concentrating on attacks on hospital members. What the doctor said, John, during the break was that there's always a risk that one of these crazed patients, for want of a better word, could attack another patient.
Another patient,
or set fire to a ward, or destroy equipment.
Exactly.
Or probably do a lot more than that.
Yes, and that's what we are trying to say to the public and to the government and to these instrumentalities, that security is not something to play with, Tony. All these institutions need appropriate security, either beefing up security guards, literally having a lot more security guards in the system at these hospitals and other departments, or, for example, having separate entrances. I mean, we don't want to make it to the point where no one can walk into a hospital, no. But at the same time, as you know, in America, Tony, they've got metal detectors when you walk into a hospital.
I reckon that's a great idea. What do you think of that, Doc? I think it's a good idea to have metal detectors.
I think those are the kind of debate that we need to have in Australia regarding upgrading hospital security. How we do it exactly, I think is yet to be determined. But I think, at the moment, we have a very secure environment in the airport, where everybody has to have their bag checked pass through metal detector. Yet, compared to another public area like the hospital, there isn't actually anything. And I think there is a big discrepancy.
So, Doctor, the comment was made about what happened to you was that nothing could have stopped it. What do you say about that?
I think I heard of that comment from one of the newspaper reporters who asked the CEO of the hospital, and I think it's a defeat. It's a defeat that...
Defeatist attitude, isn't it?
The world is a bad place, and we can never improve, what bad things happen in the world. I beg to differ with their opinion, and that I think things can always improve, as much as I suffer near-fatal injury.
Yes.
And I can always work hard to come back. And I think, their attitude really pretty much is on the basis that they were worried that they may get sued. So the first thing to say is to deny. But I think, they should work on the basis that, well, how do we improve things further to make things better for everybody?
Tony, clearly reasonable and prudent security measures would have stopped and protected this incident.
Well, I'm starting to think, Doc, that having a couple of guards out the front with weapons is probably not a bad thing, because the fellow that attacked you would have thought twice about doing it, because he probably would have been shot. Let's be realistic.
Yes.
And also, John, the thing is, in circumstances like this, you need very affirmative action. You can't just have someone going in there and saying, "Oh, don't do it, don't do it." I mean, this was a frenzied attack.
Well, and not
so
only
the only way
that,
you're going to deal with it is you need really, really strong affirmative action.
And in Michael's case, a car park attendant literally
got him off you.
Got this guy off you. I mean, you don't know that at the time because you were suffering, but that's what occurred. It's just, that's totally, in my view, inappropriate, Tony.
Yeah, I think so. Doc, security guards with weapons out the front, it would send a message to the public you can't misbehave in the hospital. you said that in other government instrumentalities and bodies, they've got all these measures in place.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You've got your glass windows and security doors and exits and entrances for staff and other people. Do you think security guards outside the hospital will help?
I think increased number of security guards in the hospital would improve security. I think that's one of many measures that they can potentially consider. Exactly what needs to be done, I think, is a much bigger issue that they need to consider carefully.
Well, John, you said there was 14,000 instances of aggressive behaviour in our hospitals in
reported.
The last... Reported. And who knows how many have gone unreported.
Unreported, exactly.
Surely that would justify having appropriate security measures.
Exactly, Tony.
And guards. Would you advocate weapons?
Yes, okay. I'd probably... I think so, yeah, I think so. And look, the problems are there, Tony. It's not as if it's a one-off. We've got thousands and thousands of incidents occurring.
Yes.
The employer and the person responsible for the building is required to ensure the safety of people in it, Tony.
Exactly. Doc, is it possible that because doctors and nurses could be frightened for their safety, that in some instances that the treatment they give to the patient isn't as good? I know that your job is as effective, because your job is to give the best possible treatment.
It's not the treatment that can't be given, but it's more of how you give the treatment to the patient, and that get interfered by threat of violence, by physically aggressive patient, and that there isn't an adequate security around in order for them to do their job. And I think that's the main issue.
Doctor, we're going to have to get you back in the future because you've got obviously plenty of positive things that you can advance to the public. John, thanks for coming on board as usual.
Thank you.
Viewers, thanks for watching. Go to our website and social media, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. Stay tuned for future episodes and always remember to stay safe.